Okay, thanks very much. For all of you non-romantics that are not going to the wedding, and for those of you watching on the video, thank you for joining us today. I'm going to present to you some insights, some tricks, some tips. It's actually a 12-step plan, literally 12 steps to work from home. My name is David Danto. There's more about me than even my kids care to know about. And if you're interested in anything what I do, you can always just look at my website, danto.info. And by all means, please do go and visit the IMCCA, either here on the show floor or imcca.org. We do a lot of educational things for the unified communication and collaboration industry. And it's a worthwhile organization. It's something that I work very closely with. And we've been putting on a number of these sessions here at Commercial Integrator Expo. So one of the key things that we've learned, without getting into the knockdown, drag-out fights about returning to the office or staying home or who's coming in or who's working remotely, one of the things that we've learned is that the temporary office, I'm going to work from home, so I'm going to set up my PC in the guest bedroom and I'm going to, stick it on the kitchen table next to the dogs, next to the kids that are the temporary thing doesn't work. If you really want to successfully work from home, you have to have a place to go to. It's very important. I actually published what I'm covering today in an article, which I'm sharing with you, the 12 steps to working from home success, or working remotely. It doesn't necessarily have to be home, but it's not a traditional office. And you can see the URL for that there. So I'm going to be going into each one of those steps one at a time, just so that I can kind of make sure everybody understands what we mean and what I believe is a formula for successful working from home. I've been working remotely for over 2 decades at this point, and my definition of working remotely is essentially working autonomously. I am where I need to be. Today I'm in Denver, the Colorado Convention Center, giving presentations at an event. I might be home because I'm working on a PowerPoint or working on a presentation or interviewing, customers or clients or colleagues the other part of the world. Sometimes I'm traveling to offices. Sometimes I'm in a traditional office. But as a knowledge worker, I decide where the right place to be is at any given moment. So there's no wasted commute. These are the 12 steps if you're going to work remotely. It's kind of a busy slide, isn't it? Let me go through each of them one at a time. But I call it 12 steps mostly because I'm making fun of a 12-step program. But my home office is in my basement at home in New Jersey. And there are literally 12 steps down the stairs to my basement. So it just kind of makes sense to round it off to being 12. So the first and most important one that I would suggest is, if you have the ability to do this, if you have the room wherever you live, pick a dedicated location where you're working from. It's extremely important mentally for yourself, for your pets, for your loved ones, to know you are at work. Yes, I'm an available knowledge worker. If somebody texted me now, which they actually are doing, and I'm going to ignore it, but if somebody texts me at 8 or 9 o'clock at night because they need a quick answer, or they want to call me, or they want help, sure, if I'm in my kitchen or if I'm out having dinner, I'm going to be responsive to my colleagues because I want them to be responsive to me in a crisis. But that's not working. That's just kind of checking in. Working is when I go somewhere and sit down and everybody knows to leave me alone because I'm at work. I know I'm at work. So picking a dedicated location to go to is very important for you to understand the difference between when you're working and when you're not. And it really helps remove a lot of the fatigue, gets people in the right frame of mind to do work. It's very helpful to have a place to go to when you're at work, even if it's just a corner table that's always set up for that purpose. Everybody knows that when you're there, you know whether when you're there, you're working. Bandwidth. Bandwidth is very important because it used to be just a simple internet connection that we would all use just to connect into the office, and then nobody really ever thought about the flush test. What happens if everybody in the city flushes their toilets at the same time? Do the pipes explode? How many people and items and things are using internet in your home? Do you have a spouse? Are they working? Do you have kids? Are they going to school? Are they watching YouTube videos? How much bandwidth do you need? I'd feel more comfortable in a house when you have like 25 megabits per person. You can get along with less than that. You can get 10 or 15 if you're doing video conferencing, but always make sure you have enough bandwidth for everything that's actively going on. Don't assume that it's just you when you're in the house. And most high bandwidth connections at home, broadband connections, can cover this relatively easy nowadays. It's important to have a desk. Now, some people like to stand, and there are now stand-up desks, there are adjustable height desks, there are sit-down desks, but you want to make sure that you have a desk that has all the things on it that you need to do your work, and then something extra. It's a problem, I'm guilty of not doing this very well, and I've had to learn about it. When I sit down at my desk, I'm not there just working on the multiple computers and screens and devices. I'm bringing with me the latest video camera that I have to try out, or I'm bringing my lunch, or I'm bringing something that I needed to read, or I need that extra space to work. And it's not enough to just have room for everything that's on your desk. And you'll see wonderful pictures of people showing their home offices. If you look online, you'll see a beautiful picture. There's the keyboard, there's the mice, there's the monitor, there's their docking station. That's great. Where do you put the device that you're hooking up and trying to use? You need that extra space at your desk. So make sure you have room, and you've given yourself room to work if possible. You can use the built-in camera on a notebook. They're getting better and better every day, but they're never going to be as good as an external camera that you use in a dedicated location. So when I'm here, I'm traveling. Actually, I'm a nut. When I'm traveling, I do have an external camera still with me. But most of the time when you're traveling, the camera in your device, in your tablet, in your PC, in your Chromebook, your Mac, is enough to get you when you have to do a quick call from a hotel. But when you're in a fixed location, when you're always working from home, that extra high quality camera, a few $100 extra, it really is going to make you pop and stand out. It doesn't need as much lighting. We'll get into lighting soon. It doesn't need the environment to be as beautiful as it would be. It really makes a difference. And that's a very important thing to do, to get yourself a high quality camera if you're in a permanent setup that you're working from. All this making sense so far? Awesome. I'll keep going. This is a very difficult one. And I can demonstrate this when I do this from home on video a lot better than I can demonstrate it here. But when you're doing a video call with someone, you naturally want to look at them on the screen. You want to know how they respond, what their facial gesture is. Are they getting what you're saying? Are they confused? Are they angry? You want to be able to see them. And if you're presenting a lot over video, you don't want to look at the person you're presenting to. You want to force yourself to look into the camera, because at the other end, it makes the person think you're looking into their eyes. Now, there are some technologies that have been introduced now that are kind of faking that automatically, that gaze angle, and they'll adjust for it. But nothing beats really staring right into the camera and letting the person that you're talking to, especially if you're selling to them, if you're talking to them about their health care, if you're talking to them about their bank accounts, if you're talking to them about their mortgage, make you think you're giving them eye contact and looking at them. It makes a very big difference when you're working from home. People think that you're relatable, you're not aloof. It does a lot of mental tricks and mental images. Look at the camera as often as you can. It's important not just to have good audio from home, it's important to have multiple paths of good audio from home. Sometimes I want to stand up and walk around. I don't have a hand mic like this when I'm home, and I'd like to have a speakerphone so I can hear it, and they can kind of hear me what's going on. Sometimes I don't want the other people in my house to hear what's happening on my call, and I want to wear a headset. Or maybe the gardener's here, and I've got a very loud mower going on outside, or I've got something else going on, drilling or construction. I want to wear a headset. Most people now have at least 3 devices that they either carry with them or keep in their home office. They have the speaker microphone puck, the thing that's built into the device, the camera perhaps. They have a headset that they wear when they're sitting at their desk, and they have a headset that they carry with them, or some type of earbuds or headsets. So you need to get more than one for each circumstance that you would be working with. Nothing beats having dedicated lighting. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk at a number of the sessions here at this show about getting a ring light and getting expensive lights, and there are brands of lights that use for video calling and video conferencing. Honestly, they're probably all really fine, but they're totally unnecessary. If you do a web search for the fundamentals of basic television lighting, you'll learn a simple method that's called 3-point lighting. 3-point lighting uses a primary light off to an angle at about 45 degrees, which is called a key light. It uses a secondary light off to the opposite angle, which is called a fill light, and it uses a light either right over your head or slightly behind you to light up the back of your head, and that's generally referred to as backlight. Key, fill, and back is 3-point lighting. I have an awesome lamp that sits on my desk that I bought on Amazon for $23 that lets me dim, that lets me change the color temperature from daylight to tungsten to whatever else that I need. Color temperature is another important part about lighting. I'll get to that in a second. But again, one key light coming from one spot, one other slightly darker light to fill in any shadows, and a little light above my head, which in my case in my basement bounce off my ceiling. So I'm bouncing off the white ceiling, and it gives you a little bit of a separation from your background. And that's standard 3-point lighting, and you can do it with $20, $30 worth of inexpensive lamps. One thing to keep in mind when you do lighting, though, is something called color temperature. And I don't want to geek out on you too much, but every light that's around has a color temperature that goes typically from 3,200 degrees tungsten, which is what we used to use light bulbs with, all the way over to 5,200 degrees Kelvin, which is daylight. If you keep in mind, daylight is blue, tungsten or home warm light, warm is kind of warmish reddish, and then these fluorescents or mercury, whatever you kind of get in the middle, you just don't want to have light fighting with each other. So you don't want to have a big tungsten warm light shining on you when you're next to a window, because someone's going to win. You're either going to have a big blue streak on your face because it's white balancing for the red, or you're going to have a big red streak on your face because it's white balancing for the blue. Don't fight the light. Whatever the natural light is in your environment, make sure whatever lighting instruments you use match that. So that's the quickie on lighting. Up to 8, we're doing good. Use more than one display at home. Honestly, and I'm not exaggerating or bragging, I'm up to 9. If I include my iPads, if I include my computers, my screens, and everything else, at least use 2. 2 is good because then you have one that you can use for conferencing and collaboration with people, and you have another one for your stuff. Your stuff might be your email, it might be somebody texting you or something else going on, or work that you're doing, so you don't confuse the two. I can't do it with any less than 3 right now because I have what it is that I'm seeing people with, what I'm sharing with them, that's the second monitor, and then the third one for my stuff, for my instant messages and everything else. I also use 2 or 3 computers at the same time, so I'm doing a lot of things. But again, I'm the techie nut multitasking. You definitely want more than one monitor. Unless you're in a hotel and you have no other choice, give yourself multiple display screens to work with. You'll drive yourself a lot less crazy. We had a couple of conversations at the show earlier about backgrounds. Some people say you should have a neat, clean background because it represents you more properly. Some people use virtual backgrounds. If you've ever seen me do video conferencing or webinars, I have a background full of pop culture, crazy, insane things, which has a history for me. There isn't a right or wrong. What's important is that the background that you use for conferencing and collaboration says what you want it to say. If you're talking to customers and you want it to show your logo, make sure it shows your logo. If you want it to show that you've got a lab behind you and you're working on equipment, have the equipment back there. If you don't want anybody to see anything because behind you is, the wall that you've never fixed in your house, use a virtual background and make sure that it's one that you like. Make sure that your background says to your participants what you want it to say. Make it purposeful. And yes, I do have Underdog and Star Trek and a number of other things behind me at all times. Bill the Cat. I don't know how many people know who Bill the Cat is anymore. You're going to be sitting at your desk a lot if you're working from home a lot. Get a chair that's comfortable. Make sure that you can sit and you're not in any pain, that you can sit there for a long time if you have to, that you can really think, that it's wide enough, that it's deep enough, that it's soft enough and comfortable enough. You're going to be there quite a bit. Make sure that you have something that you're comfortable with. Glare and reflections are very important. If you've got that lighting that I described to you and you wear glasses like I do, it's very possible, or a window open next to you, very possible that all people are going to see are big bright lights in your glasses. For the most part right now, I don't think anybody sees any glare in my glasses. I don't have a confidence monitor, so I can't be sure. But these glasses, and all the glasses that I use, have a special UV coating that blocks and prevents glare. It costs me a few dollars more, but it prevents any of that glare from coming through with no issues. So making sure that you have that available to you is definitely good. And make sure that you use a pair of glasses for your desktop that's actually prescribed for the distance that you're at, whether it's contacts or glasses or whatever. Most of us are sitting about an arm's length away from our displays, and you should get glasses tuned specifically for that distance. And then the last and most important piece of this, for me anyway, is you never want to be buried in an office in a cave. It doesn't work for traditional offices. It doesn't work for working from home. You need to know what's going on. Is it raining? Is it snowing? Is the mailman here? Who just rang the bell? Did we just get a delivery? Those are the things that it's important to know. So if you can work near a window, that's a really good thing because you can see what's going on. I personally can't work near a window because I said my office is in my basement. So I take one of my old iPads that I don't use anymore and I set it up with a webcam, like a baby monitor cam, shooting out the front window. So now I sit there with this little screen, and I can see, it's getting dark outside. Maybe I should stop working. Maybe it's time to do that. Or I can see that FedEx is coming to bring me a delivery. I can go up and get it. So having a window on life, it makes you more human. You can see, birds and flowers and butterflies. It's an important thing to be able to really work successfully from home. So those are the key 12 tips and the 12 steps that would make a work from home setup very functional and very useful. Having said all of that, the expression, your mileage may vary. Not everything works for everybody, and you may find little bits of this that works for you or doesn't work for you. Maybe the camera you got is so great that you don't really want to have 3 lights. 1 light will be enough for you. Maybe you don't want to ever have headsets. You like using the speakerphone. There are a lot of other things. Maybe you don't need a chair. Maybe you want to stand up all day because you prefer that. Finding what works for you, but working it off of the 12 steps is the easiest way to do that. Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us. Remember to join the IMCCA.org, and I'll see you online.